Welcome to the Intellectual Army. What should you do on your worst day? I'm the serial intellectual, author of 10 books and creator of 6 original personal development tools, and I have 25 years of experience helping people walk through their worst day. I've worked with nonprofit, for profit, medical practice, business leaders, staff. I've worked with them all. And over the last 25 years, I've compiled a list of things that have worked with people, things that have worked for people. And I want to give you this list of things that I have suggested to people when they are going through their worst day. Number one, try to find a safe place. Now, this isn't always possible depending on your worst day. But when you can, try to find a safe place. See, when we go through our worst days, we are often actually in the midst of some type of trauma. And as soon as you can, try to find a space. And what this may demand is that someone advocate for you to put you in that space, AKA leave her alone, leave him alone, or you have to do it for yourself. Find a safe space where there's little to no vulnerability continually coming at you. Again, this isn't always possible, but it is sure helpful because what happens is, like anything, if you're walking down the street and you sprain your ankle, what is the body's natural reaction to a sprained ankle? To put weight on the other leg, to alleviate pressure or future harm. That's what we should be doing when we are in our worst day. It's the natural reaction. And so the first thing you want to do is to do that. If you see someone and they've been in an accident, the first thing the ambulance and the paramedics do when they get there is try to get them into a safe place where there's little to no vulnerability. It's really, really important. And if you've got people around you, you may need to just tell them, can you advocate for me? I'm not in a place right now because of the way I feel and what I'm thinking. I just need you to get me in a place where I don't need to deal with my phone. I don't need to deal with people, blah, blah, blah. Just get me into a place where I could be alone for a little while. Second, focus on what's in front of you. You know, when you're going through your worst day, it's really hard not to think about what has just happened. And it's really hard not to be obsessed with what's going to happen based on what just happened. Try to focus on what's in front of you. Try to remain present. I'm not saying it's easy, but these things have worked for people when they're in their worst day. Try to remain, what is it actually in front of me? I don't want to spend too much time in the past. I don't want to spend too much time in the future. I just need to be focused on what's in front of me, which leads to the third thing. Remind yourself, you only have to do the next thing. You don't have to do the next 10 things. You only have to do the next thing. Everything else is going to care for itself or not care for itself. When you're in your worst day, what happens is your capacity will shrink. Your capacity is going to shrink. And as your capacity shrink, you have to really focus in on what you're going to give your attention to, right? Number four, remind yourself the fact that there's going to be a season and it's going to contain so many things. It's going to be like the weather, right? It's going to be hot and cold and rain and snow, but you're going to make it through. You're going to make it through. It's going to be a season. What you feel right now is not going to be the way you always feel. You're going to feel some different things, but you have to go through those seasons, all of the seasons, and you need to remind yourself of that. Number five, pray like a kid. Get real simple. Don't stay complex. You know, worst days tend to break down all of our constructs and simplify us anyway. But some of us are more resistant or resilient. And I just want to encourage you, be childlike on your worst day. It's okay to be reduced to, can you just bring me something to eat? Like, it's okay to become like a child, to pray like a child, to think like a child, to have a season where things are super, super simple and broken down into simplicity. Number six, make room for grief, make room for weeping, make room for loss, make room for sadness, make room for it. Like, let it be. You know, when our worst days come, typically grief comes with them, and so does sadness and other emotions. And if you try to push them away and fight against them, you're just making your worst day worse. Now, in America, we're really not good at this. Western culture is typically not good at this. You know, there are some cultures where when someone passes away, they give an extended amount of time for people to mourn and to weep. We don't do that. It's like someone dies, we have a funeral, you can cry there, you can cry at the graveside, and then it's like, go on. Matter of fact, in some religious circles, it's considered like a sin to weep. You should be happy. Nothing annoys me more. Some of my friends know this than when I go to a funeral and they're acting like somebody won the lottery. There's no room for grief. There's no room for sadness. There's no room to be in the dark space. There is room. Make room because what you don't make room for will make room. It's going to make room. It's going to go somewhere else. You're going to find yourself quickly having to resort to coping mechanisms. Grief is there for a reason. Sadness is there for a reason. And rather than seeing them as enemies, see them as your friends. They're helping you to release. They're helping you to emote. They're helping you to sit in something that's a tremendous loss. I was talking to someone this morning, and they had lost a loved one, and they said that one of their relatives, it took them almost 2 years to get back to 100%. Make room for it. Make room for it. Here's another one. Slow down. On your worst day, slow down. All of this has been inferred through everything. In other words, walk, don't run. Walk, don't run. Let me say that again. Walk, don't run. For those of us who are doers and go getters and very missional and take it and go, this can be tough because when our worst days come, we want to make it happen. We want to get through it. We want to, right? And sometimes it's better to walk through some things than to run. Let me give you another one. This is so practical in your worst day. Eat, drink, and sleep. Even if you can't. You say, well, you just said you even if you can't, eat something, drink something, try to sleep, even if you can't. Lay down. If you get space and time during your worst days, eat something. Even if it's a bite or two, eat something, drink something, lay down and rest. These are normal patterns for the body to heal. You say, well, I can only eat a couple bites, then just eat a few bites. I'm not thirsty. Drink something anyway. I can't sleep. Try. I'm just going to lay there. Lay there. Lay there. Try. Lay there. The body is, and one of the ways you can begin to bring it down is by just laying there, putting food, because your body is traumatized. It's responding to the trauma and it's shutting down your desire to eat. It's shutting down your desire to drink. It's shutting down all of the normal functions that you have. That's what trauma does. And one of the ways to slowly begin to get the body back is by introducing it to a cracker, little sip of water. The body goes, "Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, so we can have a cracker during this time. You can have a cracker. You don't like crackers? Get a gummy bear. You don't like that? Remember we said in the beginning, think like a kid. What would a kid do? Can I have a gummy bear? Can I have an ice cream? Like that's your time. That's your time. Eat something, drink something, try to sleep. Here's another one. Surround yourself with people who are helpful and life giving. Now, this can be tough given your circumstances. I don't know them, but you should surround yourself with people who are helpful and life giving. Surround yourself, if possible, with people who are skilled at walking you through times like this. Skilled. Now you say, is that a therapist? It could be. It could be a friend. It could just be a sweet relative who's kind, who knows how to use their 2 ears and 1 mouth ratio, which means they're not going to talk you to death. They can sit. You know what we have a lack of in today's world? People who can sit with people. Just be. Yeah, everybody wants to show up and do something. The first thing people want to say to you is, what can I do? Maybe we should show up and say, what can I be? And maybe we shouldn't even ask that question of you, right? You need to surround yourself with people who are skilled at walking you through this process because you're going to need that. And finally, suspend all expectations for a time. You say, well, for how long? How about 30 days? Well, what do you mean by that? Well, I mean, you have expectations, 3 days from now, I'm going to go back to work. And 5 days from now, I'm going to go. And what are your expectations? Suspend them for a time. It might be 2 days, 5 days, 10 days. You might say, well, this tragedy's happened to me. I don't know how I can suspend my expectations, right? Well, you can. You can. Maybe you're a mom and you've gone through some horrific tragedy. You have to say, well, maybe I used to do this and this and this at this level and that level and this level. Well, I might not be able to do that for 4 or 5 weeks at that level and this level and that level. It might be just a little below because of what I've gone through. Suspend expectations for a time. What happens if I don't? You're going to make your life harder. It's going to be much, much harder. Much harder. Some of us still have to show up after our worst day. Some of us still have to be parents and spouses and caregivers after our worst day. I get that. All I'm saying is there's certain expectations that come with those things. And I'm saying, at least internally, can you suspend those? One of the things I started recently was a podcast called My Worst Day. You should check it out. It's a podcast where I interview people about their worst day. I did it because I want to expose more of us who are going through our worst day to others of us who are going through our worst day so that we can be inspired and encouraged and reminded you're not alone. There are other people going through this, and there are other people getting through these things, and they're often using one or more of the things I've talked about in this video. I'm sorry you're going through your worst day, and I hope some of these things can help you work your way through and eventually out of your worst day. Grace and peace.